The most magnetic person in the room is almost never the one talking the loudest. Honestly, it's usually the person saying the least. We've been conditioned to believe charisma is a performance, that you have to be on, be funny, and constantly bridge every single silence just to make sure everyone else is comfortable. But there's a specific, almost haunting type of charm that requires zero effort. I call it magnetic detachment. It's that psychological pull that happens when your internal value is so high that you just stop looking for external confirmation. When you master this, people don't just like you. They become preoccupied with you. They want to solve the puzzle of who you are. Today, we're destroying the people-pleasing habit for good. We're replacing it with absolute psychological sovereignty. Let's be real for a second. When we look at social anxiety versus true confidence, the difference is entirely energetic. Walking into a room hoping to be liked is handing your power over to strangers. You're asking them to decide what you're worth. Because being desperate has a scent. I know this because I've smelt it on myself. A few years ago, I was at a corporate dinner sitting next to an intimidating senior director. I was panicking the entire time. I spent 20 minutes rambling, over explaining my work ethic, and laughing at jokes that were not even funny. I couldn't believe it. I was just begging for a crumb of validation without even realizing it in that very moment. I left that night feeling completely drained. Meanwhile, he probably forgot my name before we left the table. That was the exact moment I realized that my energy was way too cheap. The people who command a room without saying a word operate on a completely different frequency. They aren't there to be chosen. They are there to observe and to decide if that environment is even worthy of their energy. Here's the paradox that no one really talks about. In psychology, we value what is rare, what's slightly out of reach. It's the scarcity principle applied to social dynamics. When you're overly available emotionally or physically, or just constantly double texting, you become the common good. You lose your edge, simple as that. To be magnetic, you have to cultivate mystery. And no, this isn't about playing games. It's about having an inner world so rich that you don't actually need the person in front of you to validate that you exist. For example, look at icons of high status communication like Rihanna or Angelina Jolie. Watch their interviews. They do not rush to fill the silence. If a reporter asks a shallow or invasive question, they don't nervously laugh it off. They might just tilt their head, slow blink, and wait. That pause, that's where the power lives. Most people are so terrified of awkwardness that they leak energy through nervous chatter. A magnetic woman owns that silence. She lets the other person sit in it until they feel the need to reach for her level. The less you react, the more you attract. I'm not talking about being cold. I'm talking about being unshakable. If someone tries to throw you off balance, your best weapon is a neutral, elegant response. High-status people aren't easily moved by others. Before we dive deeper into the dark feminine psychology of all of this, I want to welcome you to the Muse Manual. This channel is a digital space designed specifically for women who are completely done with just being the nice girl and who's ready to establish her own internal standard. If you want to join my community from day one and commit to doing the real deep work on self-concept and psychological poise, hit the subscribe button. Consider this your official invitation to the inner circle. Now, let's look at the mirror effect. Social psychology tells us that mirroring body language builds rapport. Sure, it works for basic networking, but honestly, it's a trap. If you're constantly mirroring everyone else just to make them comfortable, you become an echo, not a voice. You lose your frame. To be truly addictive, you have to be a sovereign entity. This means your opinions, your tastes, and your boundaries stay the exact same regardless of who's around you. There's something deeply attractive about a woman who is entirely grounded in her own reality. It signals safety. If you don't blow over when the wind changes, People feel like they can anchor themselves to your strength. Take Zendaya, for example. Whether she's at a high fashion show or a casual late night talk show, her vibe never shifts to accommodate the room. She is poised, slightly reserved, and immensely confident. She doesn't lean in to get the audience leans in to get her. Psychologists call this an internal locus of control. Her success comes from within, not the applause. Then there's the Zeigarnik Effect. It's a psychological phenomenon where our brains remember uncompleted tasks much better than the finished ones. You know when you overshare your whole life story on a first date, or tell everyone your exact 5-year plan at dinner? You complete the story. Boom, there's no tension left, and the curiosity is gone. Compare that to the quiet reserve of Princess Diana in her later years. She mastered the art of being seen without being fully known. When you leave people with a little bit of homework, when they have to wonder what you're thinking, that's when the mental preoccupation starts. You occupy real estate in their mind for free. Why? Because their brain is desperately trying to finish the puzzle of who you are. We need to look at your energetic footprint. Are you leaving people feeling energized or drained? Detachment isn't rude, it's warmly indifferent. You're kind, you're present, you're elegant, but you are completely unattached to the outcome. When you talk to someone, give them 100% of your presence. Look them in the eye. Listen to what they aren't saying. But the exact moment that conversation is over, move on. Do not linger. That clean break is what creates the pull. It leaves a cliffhanger in their mind. They start wondering, wait, was she so focused on me a second ago? Where'd she go? That's how you become the person someone thinks about at 11 p.m. You didn't give them everything, you gave them a high-quality sample of you, and then you calmly return to your own world. At the end of the day, magnetism is just self-respect. You aren't being detached to trick people. You're detached because you finally understand that your time and energy are limited. You simply do not have the bandwidth to care if a stranger approves of you. I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a moment like my corporate dinner, where you just handed over your sovereignty for someone else's approval? Let me know in the comments. I'll be down there reading and responding. And if this resonated with you, hit the subscribe button for me and turn on that notification bell. We're building a library of psychological tools to help you navigate the world with more grace and more power. I'll see you in the next one.